Hey guys, what's going on and welcome to a brand new video, and we are back for Premier League predictions. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you do like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it and go back and see how we did in game week 36. And of course, this is going to be your game week 37 Premier League predictions. I got it right this time. The last couple of weeks I've been saying 24, 25, 26. I got the right this time. Yes, I said 30. I actually said 30, but yeah, let's get into it and see how we did in game week 36. So the first game of the game week was Liverpool versus Chelsea. I said Liverpool would win this game and keep a clean sheet. I thought they'd have too much for Chelsea and win this game. I said 2-0 to Liverpool. It ended up being a 1-1 draw. So the first game we got wrong. The next game was Brighton versus Wolves, and I said Brighton would win this game 3-0 against Wolves, and I've got a perfect score as Brighton did go on to beat Wolves 3-0. So we got that one perfect. The next game of the game week was Fulham versus Bournemouth, where I predicted a 2-1 Bournemouth win against Fulham, and it ended up being a 1-0 Bournemouth win, so we got the correct team winning, at least as something. The next game we had was Sunderland versus Man United, where I predicted a 2-1 win to Man United and ended up being a 0-0 draw between both teams. The next game was Manchester City versus Brentford. I said Man City would have too much for Brentford and win this game. They did, where I predicted a 3-1 win. They end up keeping a clean sheet and end up being a 3-0 win to Manchester City. Next game was Burnley versus Aston Villa, and I said Aston Villa, easy win, clean sheet, they'll smash Burnley. I said 3-0 Aston Villa, and then it ended up being a 2-2 draw between Burnley and Aston Villa, so I got that one wrong. Next up was Crystal Palace versus Everton. I said Everton would have too much for Crystal Palace and win this game 2-1. It ended up being a 2-2 draw, so not far off, technically. But yeah, next game was Forest versus Newcastle, where I predicted a 2-2 draw, and it ended up being a 1-1 draw. The next game was West Ham versus Arsenal, where I predicted a 2-0 win to Arsenal against West Ham, and Arsenal ended up winning the game only 1-0 with a late goal in the 80th minute. And of course, the controversy at the end, where I'm going to give my quick opinion. It's a foul. Raya has been fouled. It's a foul. People just need to get over it, and I think people go overboard because it's Arsenal, and I think there's a hate online, especially on Twitter, from against Arsenal. There's something against Arsenal where everyone's like, it's fun to hate Arsenal, basically. I mean, I want Man City to win the league if either of them do, but people just need to look at the rules and look at the game and watch what happened. It's a foul. But yeah, Arsenal end up winning that game, and it looks like they're going to win the league right now. But yeah, next game was Spurs versus Leeds United, where I predicted a 2-1 win to Leeds United against Spurs, and it ended up being a 1-1 draw. And the final game of the game week was Manchester City versus Crystal Palace, where I predicted a Manchester City 2-0 win, and Manchester City ended up winning this game 3-0. Now we are here for game week 37 and my Premier League predictions going into the second last game week of the Premier League season. So we're kicking it all off with the first game of the game week, which is going to be Aston Villa, and they're going to be playing Liverpool. Now, going into this game, I do think this will be a draw. I think this is like has a draw written all over it. Liverpool not been great this season. Aston Villa at the moment are very shaky and haven't been great in the last couple of games. Of course, focusing now on Europe and being in the Europa League final, they're going to be focusing on that. And I think this game is going to end in a draw. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw between Aston Villa and Liverpool. So the next game we got is Manchester United, and they're going to be playing Nottingham Forest. And I think Man United will have too much for Forest going into this game, and I think they'll win this game, which is why I'm going to predict a 2-0 win to Manchester United. I just think they'll have a bit too much for Nottingham Forest in this game. And yeah, I think they'll keep a clean sheet as well and win this game 2-0. The next game we got is Brentford, and they're going to be playing Crystal Palace. For me, going into this game, Palace haven't been great in a while. Brentford, I feel like, are still a very good team, and I feel like this season, especially looking at both teams, I think Brentford win this game. I think it'll be a close game, though. I don't think Brentford are going to run away with it, but I think Brentford are just going to get over the line against Crystal Palace, and they're going to win this game 2-1. So a 2-1 win to Brentford against Crystal Palace. The next game we got is Everton, of course, and they're at home against Sunderland, and I think the home atmosphere and I think Everton are going to win this game, basically. I think it's going to be a 2-0 win to Everton against Sunderland. Of course, Everton still have a chance to get Europe at the end of the season in some sort of fashion, being in Europe, while Sunderland's season's basically over and they're just going to finish mid-table, which is a good season for them, first season back in the Premier League. But yeah, I think Everton are going to have too much for Sunderland in this game, and they're going to win it 2-0. The next game we got is Leeds United versus Brighton, and as we know as Leeds fans, we do not deal well with Brighton. We seem to have this thing against Brighton where we just can't win games against them, and they seem to be this little seems to be just this thing about us not being able to perform against Brighton, especially when we go to the Amex. Like when we play away, luckily this one's at Ellen Road, but when we do go to the Amex and play at Brighton, normally we're absolutely awful. I mean, we were this season when we lost 3-0. But I think in this game it's going to be a draw, and I think it's going to be a high scoring draw, which is why I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw between Leeds United and Brighton. I think we'll get another point on the board in this game, which, yeah, I mean, our season's basically over as well. We're going to be finishing, we don't know where we're going to finish, of course. Every spot you go up is an extra 3 million, so the club look at that as, let's try and finish as high as possible, but I do think this will be a 2-2 draw between Leeds United and Brighton. Next game we got is Wolves versus Fulham, and I'm going to say Fulham are just going to win this comfortably and easy. I'm going to say a 3-0 win to Fulham. I think they keep a clean sheet. I think they win this game comfortably, and yeah, I just think they're going to have too much for Wolves, like every team basically this season. But yeah, next game we got is Newcastle playing West Ham, and I do think West Ham are going to win this game. I think West Ham beat Newcastle. I don't think Newcastle have been great, and I think you can get at them. West Ham, unlucky to not get a point against Arsenal, you know, playing well the last couple of games, and, you know, they've been playing well, like their recent form, and their form has been good, you know, recently. Which, when you look at this game, is why I think West Ham are going to have too much for Newcastle, and West Ham are actually going to win this game. I'm going to say a 2-1 win to West Ham in this game. I think it'll be a close game, but I actually do think West Ham are going to get over the line and win this game 2-1. Next up is Arsenal versus Burnley. I think Arsenal win this comfortably, and that's why I'm going to say 2-0. I think Burnley will have fight for the first half, and I feel like it might go into halftime 0-0, and people will be like, oh my god, could Burnley do it? And I think Arsenal will get that one goal, followed up by the second. That will just seal the game basically and end it 2-0. That's how I think the game's basically going to go. But yeah, I think 2-0 win to Arsenal, as they're going to head into the final game week. If this is true, they're going to head into the final game week basically top of the league. All they need to do is win. The next game, of course, is Bournemouth, and they're going to be playing Manchester City. I think Man City win this game. Bournemouth are a tough place to go. You know, it's a very tough place to go. They're a good team. They play well. I think Man City are going to win this game. I don't think it'll be a comfortable win to Man City, but I think they're going to win it 1-0. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think Man City will just get over the line and win this game 1-0, which, again, massive in the title race. You've got to get to the final day, being a chance to win the league. And I think Man City will do that, and they'll beat Bournemouth 1-0 in a tight game. And the final game of the game week is Chelsea versus Spurs. And if my result is right between Newcastle and West Ham, this will be massive for Spurs, because going into this game, that would mean Spurs are back in the bottom 3. I don't know if they can beat Chelsea. You know, they don't really do well at Stamford Bridge normally. And, you know, I know Chelsea haven't played well. Like, their form has been absolutely awful. But Spurs' form is just as bad, if not worse. That's why they're in the bottom 4 in the Premier League. So going into this game, I think it's going to be a draw, and I think Chelsea are going to manage to get a point in this game. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, which means, if my prediction is right, as I said, that will put Spurs into the bottom 3 going into the final day, which you don't think that's going to happen, but that will put Spurs into the bottom 3 on the final day. Actually, no, it won't. Sorry, that will not put Spurs in the bottom 3 on the final day. That will put them just above on goal difference going into the final day, you know. And the final day, anything can happen. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. These are my score predictions on screen right now. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you do like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.